That way the whole world can check us out. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Kingdom REI Live webinar. Excited for another killer day. Man, we got some content coming your way. Talking about the difference between 506B versus 506C. I am also going to be sharing, so we've been working on a deal. And I told you I'm going to share some kind of behind the scenes things we've been doing via email. Like some of the things that I see, some of you maybe, but a lot of people are doing in our industry when it comes to raising money and sending out emails, killing your deals, killing your capital raise. And so I'm excited to be here. Welcome everyone to Kingdom REI Live, the weekly live webinar series for real estate investors, operators, kingdom leaders looking to really go to the next level in their business and their faith. So we're pumped to have you here. Let me see so you can see my face. I'd love to be able to see yours. What's up? Can you see me, everyone? I just want to make sure. Yes. So welcome. My name is Ellis Hammond. I'm the founder of Kingdom REI. We have a mastermind community for faith-driven leaders who are really looking or operating real estate companies, looking to take down larger deals together. The Kingdom REI Mastermind, just an incredible community now, growing to over 20 members, and just amazing people doing incredible deals, really all over the country. Has been just an incredible blessing to be a part of it. I really say this all the time, and I hope you get this from these webinars, and want to give you a chance to meet people in the chat, because I truly believe you're one connection away. I was a former pastor, no real estate experience, and learned about the world of syndication and just got connected with like-minded people. And here we are now with, approaching $15 million of real estate. Like, what's a pastor doing owning $15 million of real estate? It's not because I went and got a real estate master's degree. It's because I met great people. It's because I built a community of incredible people. And so that's what I mean by you're one connection away. And so today we got a fantastic topic, bringing in two guys from our mastermind community, Abel and Todd, who are super experienced real estate syndicators, done both 506B and 506C offerings, raising tons of money, doing big deals. So excited to have them on. Wow, we got a great group today. This is an exciting topic. Type in the chat. I want to make sure I see it. Hello, everyone. Hey, Chris. Hey, Rachel. Great to see you. I'm curious, how many people in the chat so far have raised money or is currently raising money for real estate deals? Is anyone raising money already for real estate deals? Abel, of course, that's why you're on the panel. Andy's here. Yeah. Rachel, great. So it looks like there's several folks who have. Chris is working on his first deal. That's awesome to hear. Chris, are you doing a 506B or 506C? I'm curious. Brian, awesome. So we have a lot of experienced people here, so it'll be good to get your feedback in the chat too, as well as we go through that. Chris said, "I don't know yet." Well, then here's the thing: I'm glad you're here, Christopher, because it's so important before you get started raising money that you decide. Because if you do one thing that we're going to talk about today, you cannot go 506B. So you need to make sure you know who your target investors are and you're doing this the right way, because then it just caps you, man. So pumped that you're here. It's gonna be a great episode. If you are not in the world of real estate syndication, you're not a real estate operator, and you're trying to figure out ways to break in, I am doing a free training tomorrow night on the 7 ways to profit from a real estate syndication. This is what we do inside of our mastermind. We create joint ventures and collaborations together. And so if you're an investor, accredited investor, maybe you own another business, or you're great at, marketing or social media, or you have some real estate experience, but you want to know how to break into bigger deals. Tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, I'm doing a training on 7 ways, 4 of them without money, to profit from a real estate syndication. I will break down exactly how this business works. And it's just amazing how many people I talk to and don't realize the different ways they can carve out equity in deals for playing different roles. So 5 p.m. tomorrow, here is the link. This is not a webinar, it's a live meeting. So we'll be able to talk and interact, and it'll be about an hour long. We'll go through the 30 to 40 minute training, and then we'll go back and forth and ask questions. So 7 ways to profit from a real estate syndication. That's tomorrow night. So welcome everyone to the Kingdom REI live webinar. This is a live panel or a live webinar we're doing with Abel and Todd today. Abel Pacheco, Todd Dexheimer, on how to raise money from your real estate syndication and what vehicle. And there's a couple of things I want to point out today before we get going, that we have to kind of maybe get on the same page. And some of you already know this, which is fine, but I want to make sure everyone is on the same page today. And talking about first, what is an accredited investor? And this is going to be really important for this conversation. And so we just kind of need to start here. And real quick, I pulled this straight from the SEC page. It says any natural person. So an accredited investor is this: any person who has a net worth or joint net worth with a person's spouse over $1 million. So they got to have $1 million, not including their primary residence. Second way, there's a bunch of ways, but individually, these are kind of the ways that they can be accredited. Or secondly, they have an individual income in excess of $200K in each of the 2 most recent years, or joint income with that person's spouse equivalent in excess of $300K in each of those years, and has a reasonable expectation of reaching the same level in the current year. So if you're confused, just because someone made $200K last year does not make them accredited. They have had to make that 2 years in a row and still be crushing it in year 3. That's what accredited means, or a trust in total assets of $5 million. Okay, so that's the basis. That's what an accredited investor is. Because the reason that's important today is we're talking about what's the difference between a 506B and a 506C. And a 506B deal is open to both accredited and non-accredited. A 506C deal is open only to accredited investors. And so there's some things, there's some caveats that we got to get into. And before I bring Abel up, I want to share this one thing too. There's just a couple things we got to be on the same page with to really make a decision here and talk sophisticatedly, whatever that word is, man. Listen, I'm good at doing deals. I don't know English very well. So there's another thing I want to show you too before I bring Abel up, because this is so important to know. I pulled this straight from the SEC website today too. And this is going to be good for many of you listening, even regardless of where you're at. Some folks are just out there doing deals and still don't understand the implications of all of this. It can be confusing. I get it. All right. So here we go. So I got too many tabs pulled up. That's the problem. Let's see if I can find it real quick. If I can't find it, I was going to show you guys the SEC. Here it is. So here's the other thing that, Christopher, you're here today, and this is going to be really important for you to realize, man. If you're doing, forget it, I'm not going to show the thing. If you're doing 506B, the big thing we got to know is this: you cannot publicly market or solicit your deal. Right? So you can't go on LinkedIn and say, hey guys, I'm doing this deal, come check this out. If you're doing a 506B, if you're bringing in non-accredited investors, that's the big difference between 506B and 506C from a marketing standpoint. Is 506C, you can talk about it, you can share with it, you can run Facebook ads. 506B, you cannot publicly talk about it. And you have to have a prior relationship or a personal introduction with your investors, right? You have to establish a track record of knowing that person so that you can verify whether or not they're able to make a business decision. So there's some implications here why I'm excited to bring Abel on here in just a minute, because I posted this on LinkedIn the other day and people kind of went nuts, like, oh no, you can't, I like 506B because I can bring in my friends, etc. There's some issues to that, because you're taking on a lot of risk, because the SEC is not very clear about what it means sophisticated investor is. It's on you as the operator to make that determination if that person is sophisticated or not. And you better have a good process for how you determine that, just in case anything goes wrong in the future. And that could be as simple as, I've had a phone call, I've taken down some notes, That way I can show that later on. But again, make sure you have a process for this. The other thing is that in a 506B, you can only have 35 non-accredited investors. So for everyone who was on LinkedIn the other day saying, 506B, don't get rid of it, just know if you're going to truly try and scale at some point, I think the 506B goes away for you. Now, if you're trying to do a couple deals, whatever, at 506B is good. But eventually, in my opinion, I'm excited to hear what Abel says. I think 506B becomes irrelevant the bigger deals you go, because you're not necessarily worried about like 35 investors just become small at some point. So if you're thinking big, which I hope you are, hear me out on this. I think if you're trying to get deals done, maybe Christopher's saying, I want to try to get this deal done. I actually just recently did a 506B offering because I have a lot of non-accredited investors who want to get in the deal. But as I look to the future, I'm thinking, how do I prepare my investor base to help them either get accredited or bring in more accredited investors as we scale our business? And so with that said, I want to bring up Abel. He's got his hand raised. He's been patient. And get his feedback on just his experience in this business on 506B and 506C. I'm really curious to know what's going on with Abel and his business and where he sees this industry going, and maybe even talk about a 506C offering that we're working on right now too. We can get into that later too. But Abel, what's up?
Hey, how's it going? It's good to have you. Good to be here. Thanks for allowing me to join. Thanks for allowing me to come to the group, hang out for a little bit, man. Doing good.
Hey, so real quick before we get in, man, you're part of the Kingdom REI Mastermind. Worth it? Not worth it? Change your life?
Oh,
Not change your
definitely,
life?
definitely don't join. Don't join. No, it's awesome. I think it was an amazing group. I've been I guess a quote unquote founding member, one of our first cohorts that's been through the mastermind. So since last year. And I love, even when you think about Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, everyone mentions this book. One of the principles there is a mastermind of people that, know information that you may have that we can all learn from, contribute to, be a part of, take advantage of. And part of that is a mastermind of individuals that is all, and on the same level. We want to do amazing things. We want to do it for a kingdom, greater the kingdom. And, whether or not you think you have something to contribute, the truth is absolutely everyone has something to contribute. Sometimes it's on faith, sometimes it's on family, sometimes it's on capital raise, sometimes it's on multiple,
How many
commercial
deals
real
have you
estate, any one
closed?
of those
How many
things. It's
deals
awesome.
or how many deals are you either participating in or closed on with members in our community so far?
Let's see. We did 120 units. We did a just outside of Dallas, so a $9 million deal, and then we did a small piece of a industrial portfolio, a triple net lease, $15 million portfolio in 3 states, and then we've had investors on our 88 unit deal in
From the
McAllen,
group?
Texas.
From the
Yeah,
group?
investors from the group that have joined, and then I'm talking to other ones right now about our next deal and working together. So in one shape, form, or
You,
another,
wait, you missed?
4A
Oh,
Ford.
hello? Or with what we got going, is that not part of it?
Number 5.
So I love it, man.
Myself and
So
Ellis
I
launched the
mean,
fund.
listen, we have an
Uh,
incredible community of very high level real estate investors doing deals. And love seeing Abel come in and just, I mean, there's tremendous value in getting connected and really, being around the right people because you can go faster. You're one connection away, and Abel proves that. So Abel,
yeah,
today we're talking about 506B, 506C.
yeah.
Um, are you currently still doing your last offering was a what?
The last one that we did that we closed on was a 506B. So I've done many multiple 506B deals, total of seven,
Okay.
seven 506Bs.
And how many 506C onlys?
So I've started my second 506C. So two 506C raises and the rest are 506Bs.
Will you continue to do 506B offering for non-accredited investors?
I will. I'll continue to do 506B investments, essentially as long as I think I can. I really love the principle or the mindset of giving many multiple people who would never have the opportunity to invest in these assets or these opportunities a chance or an opportunity to do so. So 506c, which we'll talk about in a minute, but really I love that principle. So I think I'm going to do more 506b's as basically as long as I can,
Yeah.
and I like where people can get in that they would not have been able to invest
So
in these
let me
assets.
ask you this though. So there is some limitations to the 506B offering where you have to determine if they're sophisticated or not. You can only bring in 35. You can't publicly solicit. So my first question is, how do you cross your T's, dot your I's
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
a security standpoint, in working with non-accredited investors?
I'll talk about maybe when I first got started and what I'm doing now, because I think this may help people that are just getting into the game, try to do this the best possible way. So, one of the things that I remembered from my professional career, my VP of sales used to always tell me, did someone approve this price, this service, the solution? We were selling IT, and we would talk to a new client. We would promise them something for a certain dollar amount, and I would have to get a one-off approval. That one-off approval would go to somebody in support or engineering. And so what he would ask me, he said, "Did you get that in writing?" And I go, "Well, the VP approved." He goes, "Yeah, get it in writing because it's CYA." And I was like, CYA? I didn't even know what it was back then. Cover your ace, right? So I go, oh, okay, well, I'm going to cover it. So what I would do is put it in writing. Hey, Mr. VP, thank you very much for this approval. I appreciate it. I'm going to copy my VP. And so I know I had it CYA. I covered myself. So essentially, when it comes to the SEC from a 506B, I think about it the same exact way. Do you have a pre-existing relationship with this investor? Yes. Okay. When did it get established and how can you CYA? I think it's easy for us to say friends and family members, you know them all your life. Easy to prove you knew them before you had a deal under contract. Friends, somebody I worked with, somebody I had a relationship with, it's also, I would say, pretty easy to prove we worked together back in 2010 and this is the date. And, it's very easy to say, yeah, we had a pre-existing relationship. Somebody I met at a conference, somebody I met in passing, somebody I met on a plane, somebody I met shaking hands, one evening talking about real estate is not. So what I would do is CYA. I would get an email in writing and I would send that out and I would say, hey, John, it was great to talk to you last night. I loved hearing about your goals in real estate. I love sharing my goals. Man, I'm excited to talk with you in the future. It's great to start an existing relationship for the future. And one of the easiest ways, in my opinion, to do is just to copy that. And simple. I didn't have a CRM. I didn't have any accredited investor forms or non-accredited, sophisticated, or whatever. It's just like that was the CYA. So anybody ever asked me, I can at least prove that we had a relationship starting 2019, and I showed them a deal in 2020, right? The next one that I would say is like, well, how do I get it in writing and also make sure that they're a sophisticated investor, right? So that word is something that you mentioned. Hey, well, how do I know they're sophisticated? Well, I think back then what I would do is show them as much information as I could about investing. I would show them my deals as a passive investor. I would put them in direct them towards the education that I was taking. I would point them to a number of books and I would literally have some of these in links and say, hey man, if you need to check this out, get educated. By the way, are you an investor? Yeah. Do you understand you can lose money in any investment? Yeah. Do you know that, there's a chance of profit, but there's a chance to also lose all your risk? They're like, yes, Abel, I know what investment is. Okay. Well, I'm just making sure to kind of feel this stuff out because what I don't want you doing is putting in all your entire, your entire life savings, which may be a smaller amount because it's a non-accredited investor. That's another thing is, I also direct people. I don't want anybody to put more than, 20, 30% of their life savings into any one of my deals because if they are a non-accredited investor and something happens on a deal, I want to be a good steward of people's capital. So I don't want their life savings riding on whether or
Yeah.
not, we crush it in a
I
deal.
always ask every investor this question. If you give me this 50, 100, 150K today, how long will it take you to replace that? Like, when can you give it to me again? And if the answer is not somewhat in a reasonable period,
Yeah.
I'm very cautious and hesitant to want to bring them in the project. One is because, just like Abel said, you never want to take someone's last dollars, because if it's their last dollars, first of all, you don't want that liability. Second off, anybody's last thing is like they're tied to it. And what you don't want from an investor is someone who's always like, my last, what's happening. I mean, we're all trying to be great stewards of this, but be wise about who you allow into projects. And that is the risk of 506B deals. Is sometimes we're just, we want people to get in these deals, or maybe you're just starting, you're kind of like, I'll take any 50K. And I would just say, be careful, because if you're in this deal 5-6 years, you don't want just any 50K.
Yeah.
It could be the
Yeah.
worst 50K, that you ever accepted in your life, if, you have to answer emails once a week for 5 years. So Abel, here's my question then. If you're doing a lot of 506B deals, but you can't market those projects, how do
Yeah.
you stay ahead so that when a deal does come, you're able to raise it? Because again, you can only allow 35 non-accredited. So I think the sometimes the question I have is, when does it stop being worth it to, essentially keep the 506B so you can show it to non-accredited investors? So first question is, how do you stay ahead in the terms of a marketing standpoint if you can't actively market during your deal? And then when do you think it stops becoming worth it?
Yeah. I would say part of the last part of the question kind of bleeds into this one too. So I used to do that then. Today I have a CRM. So invest a few bucks into a platform, technology platform, software, whatever you call it, a customer relationship management tool, I think CRM. So it's essentially a platform for me to log every single investor or conversation or contact, anybody that I talk to about real estate, into my CRM, into that. There was a midway point where I would keep everything in an Excel. After I moved past email, then I went to Excel. Then I started fielding with a CRM, and then today I have an investor portal. So all of those were different, phases in my career of how to manage this, but that's how I could easily establish who I had an existing relationship. And now that I had them in, a CRM, I could put them in an email tool that I can just go upload every single person that I have an existing relationship with, a pre-existing. I know they're sophisticated. I know they're quote unquote qualified for a 506B deal that we have. And I could send them one big email. And that email is not general solicitation. It is informing people that I have an existing relationship with that there's a new opportunity. And that's essentially how we would do it. So we keep our investors informed of new opportunities, put together an offering. We usually invite them to some kind of webinar or some kind of meeting. So that's kind of the second part of the first question. And then, bleeding into how you're saying, well, how do you market today? How does that happen? Well, I send out a lot of education. I try to put out content as often as possible. I have a podcast today, pretty much daily podcast that I put out. It has tons of information, nuggets, education, one shape, form, or another, about multifamily commercial real estate investing that has nothing to do with me soliciting for a certain opportunity, but rather giving away free content and educational, educational information about investing. And I put that everywhere. I try to, anyways. LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, a
So
company
what you're
Facebook
saying is,
page,
you got a
company
funnel of
LinkedIn.
content that's more talking about 5T CRE, your company. People are coming in, you're establishing that relationship with them that way, and then you can show them these deals.
Two things. So let's call it Again, an old school, if you're a sales guy, you know what this is. If you're in marketing, you probably have a very great idea of what I'm talking about, but it's a funnel. It's a huge funnel. And that funnel, at the top of the funnel, we want to provide as much education and content to get people into the 5 talents commercial real estate funnel so they can potentially become new investors with us in the future. And so what we do is we give away that education, that free content. Okay, that is a general, informational, educational thing. Then there's a website where they can go in and look at our website and register to become a future investor. They put in their contact information, name, phone number, email, and automatically, we have some automation that allows an investor to come set up time to talk with us. We get them on our calendar. We talk to a new investor, and now we've established a pre-existing relationship. In doing so, there's a trigger that gets flipped, and that trigger says, I have a pre-existing relationship. I've established the relationship on X date. I know more about their goals. They filled them out. They know more about ours. Now in a future offering, we've categorized them as pre-existing relationships. So I think that's kind of the big one is a marketing perspective. It's get them to know about our company. Then once they opt in and coming in the funnel, who wants to set up time to talk with me? And now we've established a pre-existing relationship.
So, all right. So, Abel, let me ask you. So you did your first 5 or 6 deals. It sounds like you did 506B. Here's a question I get a lot, and I want you to answer: is when do you know? Because, I think a lot of people get started. The reason that 506B thing is nice is because most folks, their investor base is their friends or family, right? Or people that they know, and maybe not everyone's accredited. So it is easier to raise, getting started at 506B. I do think though, Blackstone's not doing 506Bs. And not that everyone here is going to be a Blackstone, but a lot of our mentors,
billions and billions of dollars too.
Yes.
Right?
Okay. Well, let's scale it back then. Everyone who's an advisor for Kingdom REI that has over $500 million of assets under management no longer does 506B either.
Yeah. And there's a good number, $500 million, right? So $500 million, they probably have 3,000 to 4,000 doors where, that just may even be a good point, right? Is like, when do you know, shoot, there was one deal early.
That's my question. Yeah,
there was one deal early. There was a 260 something, $25 million plus deal. Well, it was a $7-8 million capital raise. Divide that by 50 grand, which is a minimum. And that's going to put you well over 35 non-accredited investors. So part of it is knowing the minimum dollar amount that you need to raise. Your capital raise. If we need to raise, I'm going to do the math here because I'm bad at it. $8 million was a capital raise, for example, divided by 50K, that's 160 investors. So if you had a 506B and you were completely full on your non-accredited investors, you're only going to come up with 35 at $50,000 each. That's 1.75. You would be $6 million shy. So there's a couple ways to do it. Is I have to increase my minimum investment. I think on that one, we started with a 75K minimum investment. So that said, if 35 non-accrediteds came in times 75 grand, it's 2.6 million. We're still shy. So can you adjust this ratchet up for non-accredited investors?
Yeah, but at some point,
makes sense.
That's my point, Abel. And I want to play devil's advocate here because you only can have, this is my point. You can only have 35. And most non-accredited, the reason they're not accredited is because they don't have the income to be accredited. So if you want to start doing bigger deals, 100%. This does start to not make sense anymore.
So if you want to continue to ratchet that up, at some point you can't expect the non-accredited investor to put in 200 or 200 grand. So yeah, it's just part of the natural progression. Now that deal closes the 506B. We didn't have any problems hitting the $8 million commitment. And the main reason was we had a lot of investors, a lot of accredited investors that still get in, and we didn't fill up the 35 non-accredited spots. So you still have, there's nothing that says you can't market to 506C investors on a general you can tell them what you do about your business. What you can't do from an SEC standpoint is put out those exact terms on your deals, return numbers, return metrics, financial performance, all that stuff that we would generally say is an OM and an advertisement for a deal. Instead, I consistently advertise my company.
Yeah,
This is what we
that's
do and
good.
how we do it. So I think what you do and how you do it and attracting other accredited investors is general enough to where man, I can't remember the last time if I've ever put percentages of returns in deals on any of the advertisements, but I still have people coming in through the funnel now. So here's a switch. Here's a paradigm shift, right? We've done 8 deals. We're doing 9. It's about to be 10 pretty soon. And I have more actively involved in marketing where I want to start putting a message out there and want to start putting return projections and advertising more stuff. So I am going to start doing 506C deals. We're at about a little under 1,000 doors under under our management or whatever, a co-sponsored that I'm part of one shape, form, or another of the general partner team. And then essentially that's like 100, I don't know. So it's a big number. It's a lot of millions of dollars. So I'm transitioning to that next phase where I don't want to have to worry about it anymore. I do podcasts all the time. I have
You can just talk
advertisements.
about it.
I
So,
probably won't change too
Abel,
much in my market, but I just want to be
where
able to say it. Like, yeah.
so here's the benefit, because you and I both have a 506c offering together. As I exit you and bring up Todd here, why
Yeah.
don't you tell people what we're working on, since you can talk about it, and where they can go to learn more about the fund that we have, since it is a
Okay. Yeah, it's pretty
506c
awesome.
offering.
So, 506C, we can openly talk about it. So we have a new fund that we've been working on, and that fund is Mission of Multifamily Fund 1. And so myself, Ellis, another one of our partners, is essentially working on a deal that's invested in across markets, across opportunities, really nice 250 unit plus, 40, $50 million deals, many multiple deals that we can provide diversification. So some people are worried about one market, one deal, one operator, one team. And I would love to call myself a professional operator, one of the best in the world. But really, when you're comparing somebody who's really good at basketball and like LeBron James, LeBron James is paid millions and millions and millions of dollars to hit some free throws and score some good points and all the things. Well, we essentially have like a LeBron James of operational teams. So Grace Steele, Grace Star Pinnacle, the number 1 and number 3 operators in the world. We've got Real Page, Real Manage, some of the highest paid executives and some of the biggest publicly traded, and huge Fortune, whatever, 100 companies. These entities are the professionals of multifamily. So they're buying many multiple assets and creating a true institutional grade. We throw this word around a lot, institution grade investment. Easy way to ask to find out if it's really institutional, ask them what institutions are investing. So we have institutions that are literally investing, Guidestone, some of the other largest faith-based mutual fund kind of companies and family offices that are investing in it. They're pulling their money. They're buying something bigger, just like we do, than we would have been able to buy on our own. So we're investing in their deal, and we get the benefit of double-digit returns, of very good some tax benefits, diversification across many multiple deals. And if you're interested, you can go to 5tcre.com/invest, and we'll give you some information. You can find it probably on our YouTube page and a couple other spots as well. So happy to connect. If anybody's accredited investor, 50K minimum, most people are putting in 75 or 100 on our level. And then at their level, they're 10-figure commitments. So yeah, excited. And I'm excited to have a good, successful raise with you.
Abel, man, loved having you on. Love your experience. Guys, check out Abel's podcast and make sure you go follow his stuff. I'm pumped to have you on, man. Really love just being friends with you and the way you push me to be better, think bigger, and just get better, man. So I can't wait to see you in Dallas, right? A month. We'll be in Dallas together for the mastermind.
All right, get it on.
So I'll see you there. Thanks, man. So we're going to bring up our next guest. And guys, we're just getting started here. So, and I want you to stay with me till the end, because I'm going to bring up Todd. We're going to talk about, I'm going to ask Todd some hard questions here because Todd can handle it. And then I want to show you guys some actual emails that I sent these past weeks that have helped us raise $1.5 million in 6 days. And I want to show you the difference of what my emails look like. And I am boasting or bragging, I guess, a little bit, because what I'm saying is I look at other people's stuff and I'm like, this is why people are not making a decision with you, is because you make it too darn complicated. So if you stay with me till the end, I want to show you things that I think will actually help you in your next capital raise in terms of sending the emails and getting the webinars out there. So stay with me, but let me bring up Todd and Abel. Thanks for joining us, brother.
Thanks for having me.
All right. There he is. What's up, Todd?
Hey, there we go. I got to unmute myself. I got to turn my video on.
Act like you've been here before, man. Act like
make it easy. I think that's key that you just said right there, man. If you just got to make it super easy. A lot of investors, they don't have time to read through all your stuff. Honestly, a lot of them don't have time to even watch your videos, or they don't want to. They trust you, but they just want to know a couple key points. Just feed them those few key points. Like, understand what the questions are over and over again that everybody asks, and make sure that's presented right away, put in front of them.
I can't agree more. I can't wait to show them these emails. Like, they're so stupidly simple.
It's simple.
And it works because exactly what you said. We think people need all this information, and someone just like it's a couple keywords of refinance. Oh yeah, I want to do that. And then how do they get in touch with you? You know what I'm saying? So,
and some people do need all that information, but you're going to provide them with that.
Right.
But you got to provide the super simple, boom, this is, I'm excited for these.
We're talking, let's get into, we're talking to an expert here. We got Todd Dexheimer on the line. Todd has been in this multifamily game since I was in the diapers, okay. He's not that much older than me, but he's been around for a long time. Okay. For sure. And a lot of experience. I mean, golly, Todd, how much you're managing what now? I mean, you've bought and sold a lot of deals, but
yeah, we did. We sold a couple deals recently. So right now I think we're just over 50 million, 60 million, somewhere around there in assets. We sold two pretty big size deals just recently. So that was exciting, but
it's awesome to have you here. So let me just ask you some hard questions here. Okay. Because we're talking about 506B, 506C. The shifts that I had, and I'm still working through this a little bit. I was a pastor. I struggled personally. And this is why, even this past week when we were able to raise those funds, it's just such a big, mindset shift for me. Cause I struggled to really ask people for $1,200 a year to support our ministry, which was advancing the kingdom of God and changing the lives of college students in San Diego. And it was hard for me to say, hey, would you support us $1,200 a year? And now today we're asking investors to put up at least $50,000. And, it's just, it's a totally different thing. My question to you is, I see a lot of people going after the $50,000 minimum 50. Is that too low? Are there more investors? Are we hurting ourselves by going after the 50,000, the one who can only do 50, when maybe it might be easier to go after the 200K? Have you thought about that? What's been your experience in raising money? I know you've done both sides of this equation too, but what do you think about the $50,000 minimum? Have you ever thought about just increasing that?
Yeah, actually, we almost increased it to $100,000 on our last deal. We ended up selling back down to 50. But yeah, there's something to be said about a higher minimum. There's also something to be said about a lower minimum. I think up until fairly recently, Grant Cardone was taking $5,000 from people, and he was raising a lot of money. He was just casting a wider net. I know there's a fairly good sized syndicator. I'm not going to say his name because I don't know that he advertises too much publicly, but he does $25,000 minimum, and he's raised many hundreds of millions of dollars. at 25,000. But I also know several people that have a $100,000 or $200,000 minimum, and they do extremely well. Also, I think there's a couple things you got to really think of. First of all, who your network is really important. If you've got a network with a lot of high net worth individuals, $100,000-$200,000 probably not going to be nearly as big of a deal. If you've got a network with a lot of middle class or kind of that in that lower echelon of accredited investors, $100,000-$200,000 might be pretty difficult. So you have to look at your network. You have to look at how much you're willing to do the K1s and all that kind of stuff, which quite frankly, there's a lot of automation behind that. So it's not that hard. Here's what I've noticed though, in my own personal experience. When I make my minimum $50,000, I get really about the same amount of investors as if I made my minimum $25,000. So if I've got a minimum of $25,000 and I got to raise $2.5 million, I need 100 investors, right? But if I double that, I only need half those investors, and I'm going to get pretty much the exact same amount of investors. That means I can raise about $5 million just by raising my minimum to $50,000. I will lose out on a few, not a lot, a few, by raising my minimum. But here's what happens. If I've got a $50,000 minimum, my investors come in, they're going to be at least $50,000, right? They're going to be more inclined to go to 75 or even 100. Where if I've got a $25,000 investment minimum, that same investor that would have done 50 is now doing 25. Okay. Especially the first time they invest with me. So somebody that's invested with me a ton of times, they're going to put what they want to put in. They're going to put 100, 200. They don't care what the minimum is. But if it's their first time investing and they just want to kind of check it out, just kind of put their toe in the water a little bit, they're going to invest the minimum. So that's something to be really cognizant about.
What I appreciate about that, Todd, and I think it's so good. A couple of things Todd said there: know your investor base, and if you really do want to, like if you want to help serve, middle class W-2 workers, who maybe folks who will never be able to hit that 200K echelon, know that. And I think that's right on, Todd. And I appreciate that distinction. But I want to make sure people get this point, because this is so, and there's a lot of great operators on this call. A lot of people have raised a lot of money for deals on this call. I still think there's a mindset shift, though, that you have to go through, because I still don't see this very often. And we still have a very sophisticated mastermind. You're in our mastermind as well, Todd. And so there's people there who are doing big stuff. But I still think we still have that same missionary mindset.
Yeah.
Sometimes. My biggest regret looking back when raising funds as a missionary was I never asked for enough. I never asked for enough, because here's the thing. When I asked for 1,200, I wasn't their main, no, $1,200 looking back, I'm I thought that was a lot of money. It was a lot of money to me. It wasn't a lot of money to them.
Right.
And, I went on this investor tour back in February, and I got to sit down with some really high net worth people, 10, 15, $50 million. And when I said, I only did this a couple of times until I learned, when I said my minimum was 50K, it almost was why? That's not going to move the needle at all for me. 50K would do nothing because I would ask them this. I said, one of my questions was, how would this impact your family? And after a couple guys said, well, this wouldn't, I'm well, why am I sitting here? If I can't do something that won't impact you and your family for the next 10 years of your life, in a good way, and I don't have an investment for you that can actually impact your life, what the freak are we doing?
Yep.
And so it was just a mindset shift of well, why even do this then? And literally, so I was just well, now my minimum's 150 on that particular project, because I realized no one cares if it's 50K. So I just think helping people, again, make that shift at some level and who you're talking to. You also could be hurting yourself the lower you go, because for a lot of high net worth folks, 50K would never move the needle for them in their lifetime. And so I do think it's
So
knowing who you serve and who your investor audience is, but knowing there's a lot of people out there on the other side. I'm just helping people move like this.
yeah.
I call it the missionary mindset. Like, and I see that a lot when we're talking about raising capital.
So here's one thing. There's nothing out there that says you can't have multiple tiers, right? So you can. Here's what you could do. You're going, I'm a little afraid. I don't really know if I can go to a $200,000 minimum or $100,000, whatever that is. Okay, well then why don't we do this? Why don't we try? Why don't we set up our next investment where we go, we're going to have 2 tiers, and I'm going to offer an A share and a B share. And my first share that I'm coming out is maybe an 80-20 split to the investors with a 7 pref. Okay, that's a $200,000 minimum. We're going to send that out to our investor list. They have an opportunity to invest. We're going to see how much we can get. Then we have our next share level that comes out later after this one, maybe not even expires, but after this one, gets to a certain point. That one's a $50,000 minimum, but it's a 70-30 split with a 6 pref. Okay. So if you want to invest $200,000, here's what you get. But if you don't, you can invest 50 and here's what you get. So you can still get the best of both worlds, right? You're getting rid of that fear that we're offering a bigger amount as the minimum. We're going, but we're too afraid. So we want to make sure we still got that 50.
Yeah, that's great. I love that idea. So are you doing 506C deals yet?
I've done, so I did a 506 C kind of. It was called a SCORE offering, SCOR. And what that allowed me to do is raise publicly to accredited and non-accredited investors within the state of Minnesota.
Interesting.
I could take money, investments from anybody, from anywhere, as long as they were accredited. But if they were non-accredited, I could advertise for them. Okay. I've not done a 506C offering. And one of the reasons why is I've got a pretty good sized network of very faithful investors that are non-accredited that put a good size of money into my deals. So we had 13 non-accredited investors on this last raise.
13.
13. Yep. Not 13. And combined between them, we got over $1 million. So, it was a pretty good size amount of money. Every deal, it seems like I get $1 million or more out of non-accredited investors. So I've kind of kept that open because I want those people to continue to invest. I really like the idea of them continuing to invest. Some of them are very dear friends of mine. So, and family. And so I want that to continue. So I have not done the 506C yet. It probably will come to a time where I will end up doing it. Here's the thing that I think people have to remember when they're doing a 506C, that money just doesn't come in. You still have to do your job.
Yeah.
Right. And so I can go out and advertise, but I'm only going to get a few people from that advertising. I think more than anything, that advertising allows you to build your investor list that they'll invest in future deals. I would love right now to be able to blast out the deals I've got going on and talk about them and get people excited about them, because I know that'll bring more conversations to me and more people will comment and all that kind of stuff. But I would not expect any of those people to invest, or very few. Most people aren't going to make that quick decision. Some people will, most people won't.
Well, I think that's a good point, and you make a distinction there. And even what we've done, 506B and 506C, our 506C offering is a fund, meaning we are continuing to raise that fund up to a certain amount, but there wasn't a hard deadline, right? Yeah. So we could continue to talk about it, and that's why we did that, because anyone I talked to, then I could show them the fund. Versus our 506B offering, hard deadline, one asset, and just like you said, some guy I just met is probably not investing anyways. They've probably already met me. They're on my email list. They watch my, YouTube channel. They listen to my podcast. And so I think that's a very good distinction of the type of offering that you have. If you're doing a single deal and there's a quick deadline, the 506c thing, unless you're just a killer marketer and you know how to advertise it, you're not just going to go get new investors online from that.
Yep.
Right. Versus, but if you have something open, maybe a year, or it's a tranche type thing, I do think the 506c thing begins to make more sense because you can advertise it's extended. You can bring new people into that.
Yeah. And I think that's maybe not the only way to go, but I think that's the way to go when you're talking about a fund, is because, as you said, like, Alice, you could go to dinner and meet somebody that wants to invest $1 million in your deal, but if it's a 506b and it's already out there, they can't.
Right.
They can't. Even if it's a fund, they really can't. You can't talk to them about it. There's so much gray area there. That I think you'd be putting that whole raise at jeopardy. Where it's a 506c, have a couple more conversations. Let's sign you up. No big deal. Like, we don't care. We already know it. They just have to hit the accredited status. And if they got $1 million to meet that status, right? Where the B, and quite frankly, we just haven't had the need to do the C, because we raise our raises, go really quickly.
Yeah.
And so we haven't had that need yet.
Todd, are you in a rush? You got a few minutes? I want to do two things before you get out of here today. You got a few minutes?
Yeah.
All right. First of all, you're in the mastermind. Those who are not in the mastermind or listen to it. Tell me your experience. You've been in it since the beginning of this year. Kingdom REI. You were down in Orlando with us. Are you coming to Dallas? Can you get away?
I think I'm going to be there. Yeah. Yeah.
How's it been, man? Give me a little. I mean, being part of a mastermind, especially one like this, how's that helped you in your faith and your business?
It's been good. It ties the two together, which I think anybody who's a Christian is searching for, in my opinion, tying both your faith and your business and relationships all together. Because, hey, we go to church on Sundays. We maybe, hopefully we pray at home, and we, maybe read the Bible or some other, books, but we're not really openly talking about our faith to people. And so having this faith community has been huge. And then, of course, surrounding yourself with a faith community of like-minded people that are doing big things in real estate, in the industry you're in, I think is also amazing. Anytime you can just surround yourself with people that are doing big things, that's super helpful. But then if we can surround ourselves with people that are doing big things that also have the same morals and values, and just are serving the same or very similar purpose, that's even better. So it's been great. The live event was awesome. With what and this is, you didn't ask me to do this prior to, so it's not like this is like I've been thinking about this or sponsor some sort of commercial or something, but with what you offer, Ellis, it's a steal, man. It honestly is. Somebody asked me about it, and they're like, "Yeah, it's a lot of money, though." And I'm like, "I thought so too," but once I got into it, I realized, like, you should be charging 3 times more, maybe even more.
Careful, there's mastermind members on this call. They're like, "Don't go 3 times."
But I'm serious. I mean, you get so much value for what you're charging. It's really amazing.
Yeah. Well, it's my passion to bring people together. Abel was on the call and said he's done 5 deals inside of this mastermind already.
Yeah.
What's that work to you?
That's the other thing. There's tons of opportunity to partner with people. It's not just learning, it's not just creating those relationships, but there's partnerships here too.
Yeah. Guys, the reason I asked Todd to do that is we have a preview night coming up August 1st in Frisco, Texas. It's live. Our members are going to be there. Would love if you're in that area to come attend or fly in. And if you want to plan to be there for the entire mastermind, we'll be there the 2nd and 3rd as well. I'll post the link down right now for you to go check that out, thekingdomrei.com/preview. And if you're interested, we can get on a call to see if you qualify. Todd, while you're here and got a few minutes, and thanks for sharing that, I want to actually show those emails I was talking about. And I want us to discuss, because we've both seen the emails that other people send. I don't know if I've seen all of yours, but I want to show you too. I want to show our folks, we just raised, and this is not, this is not a lot by any means. It is a lot from knowing where I've came from. We raised just over $1 million in about 5 days. And I just kind of want to show a couple of the sequences that actually helped us raise, like we needed to kind of finish some things up and share some of the stories, because I think one of the reasons people, there's a lot here, but when people send out emails and stuff, I get those emails and I look at those. I'm like, how could anyone make a decision based off this email? There's so much information here. I don't even know what button to click. Like, if I wanted to give you $100,000, I would not know how. And so I think some folks, if you're trying to really raise, there's a couple tweaks really help people who are currently in deals and currently raising money or looking to raise money in the future. And while you're here, I want to get your thoughts and kind of see how you're doing this as well. So let me pull up while we're here. I just want to show you two deals, and these were recent emails, and they worked really well. And I want to show you the two things we did here. Would that be helpful? I mean, is anyone still here? Actually, Todd, let's make sure people are still here on the call. Anybody still in the call and want to see this kind of stuff? All right, Jamet's here, Janice, Rachel, yes, Ken, awesome. Okay, so we got some people who actually want to see some of this stuff. Christopher's loving it. Great. All right, so Todd, so these are the actual emails that I sent to my investor base for a deal that we were working on. And here's what it said. The title of this email, let's see if I can find it, was non-accredited investors. So I'd already sent a bunch of emails. I wanted them to know this was a non-accredited deal. So that was the first subject line, non-accredited. And then I'd already sent them the webinar. I'd already sent them some stuff. I just wanted to get them to the point, and this was clicked on 35 times. There's two links in here. You can watch the replay, or you can download this 2-pager report. And I just want people to realize this got clicked on 10 times. This got clicked on 35 times. And just to Todd's point earlier, people don't have time to watch your video, but they're very still curious about your deal. And so I just said, hey, we got something open. Again, this is to my investor base. People already know. I gave them a real quick recap of the deal. But the thing I want you to point out is how short this email is. And what I said, I put a PS. By the way, PS is a marketing tip. People don't really care about your emails, but they will read your PS. And so I just, hey, if you don't have 45 minutes to watch the video, just check out this 2-pager. You're going to see the value in what we're doing. 35 people clicked on this 2-pager report right here of our deal. And in that 2-pager report, it tells them how to invest, kind of next steps in our deal. So that was one. Todd, you mentioned this about videos versus, do you do any 2-pagers or summaries of your deal? Ever did anything like this for your type of stuff?
Yeah, we do a summary. And so our summary is very bullet pointed. We're picking out some of the major things, and like in our executive summary, some of the big things that we think investors really want to know. A lot of the we get a lot of the same questions from investors over all of our deals. And so that's what we try to answer right away, just in bullet points. Boom, 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 boom. Like this is what's going on.
Yep.
Short and sweet, right? The people that really like to dig, go ahead, dig. Yep. Like we've got it there. But otherwise, it's right here.
So, and the other thing for this, Todd, I actually didn't even send out the large, how like most operators will send out kind of their 15-page summary of the whole deal. I didn't even do that, because what I have found is that when people it's just confusing. Like I don't want them to get in analysis mode. Like the only way they actually can get that in this deal is if they've actually made a commitment already, and then they go into our portal, and in the portal, then they can see the extended operating deck. Now, that may not be for everybody. I've just found that most of my investors are making a decision based on me and the overall thing of the deal. If they want more details, I'll say, great, make a commitment. Then you can do some exploration, right? You're deep, because most people have already made a decision emotionally. Remember this, guys, people don't make decisions with their brain. They make decisions with their emotions. So they've already made the decision, and now they need to justify it in order to make sure they're not crazy. Mm-hmm. So they make the decision, yes, I'm committed, and then I'm okay for them to go justify it. But I don't want them to justify the decision before they've made the emotional decision. And I think that is a key in this process. So that was one. I hope that's helpful for people listening. It should be a light bulb for a lot of folks. This is a second email that I want to share, and why I think this is important. So we sent this email out This was just want folks to know how many emails I sent out. This is deal update number 7. And the reason that's important, 2 things about this. One, it's number 7. And the reason I send out multiple emails, one, we weren't raised yet. So if we'd already raised, I wouldn't need to send 7 emails. But I do think, though, like, I'm not scared to send out more emails because people are busy. And every email that I've sent through number 7, I've gotten at least another investor. And the same investor saw or got email 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 and still didn't invest. Couple reasons. My emails were going to his promotional folder. The subject line didn't catch his attention. He didn't know what decision to make. And so literally he called me on this email and said, hey man, I saw the refi email. Again, there's literally only one thing he can do in this email is text me. And so it was, hey, here's a quick recap. If you want to be part of this deal, text me. 10 minutes later, he gives me a call. And so, I'm not saying, oh, here's all the great information why we love this deal. Here's watch the webinar. Actually, I think I included the deal webinar if they wanted to watch this. But if you look at clicks, let's see how many clicks I got on this deal. Showing you guys everything. This is the best webinar online, I think. Who's showing this type of information? I can't imagine. So 6 people clicked this. So no one cares. Again, this goes out to 300 people 7 times. No one cares about the webinar. No one's watching the webinar anymore. Like, no one's doing that. What people want to know is, do I want to be part of this or not? And this wasn't for everyone. This was for the 1 or 2 guys that called me on this, and we were able to raise the last little bit we needed. So this is what all of my emails look, by the way. Like, they're very simple. They're very short. They don't have everything about the deal. I just want to give people one thing to do. Here's one thing that might catch them. And the cool thing about the different emails is I'll share different parts of the deal in every email, because someone might really like the refinance and hold. Someone might really like a cash flow perspective. Someone might like the city of San Diego and the location, and that causes them to make that decision. And so, Todd, I don't know what your emails look, but I think there's something. And again, I didn't come up with this. I just have been observing the guys who send me stuff and what I like and what I don't like. And what I have personally liked is just simplicity, man. Like, get to the point and tell me what to do.
Yep.
If this thing is 4 pages with 7 links, I actually don't know what to do. I literally am confused, and I probably don't invest. So your thoughts on this, man, now that we've kind of looking this together?
Yeah, I love it, man. It's simple. I love the fact that you're doing multiple updates like this to give them opportunities. Like you said, people miss emails or just it goes to the side. A lot of times, how many times do you do this? I do it. Like, I see an email and I don't click on it, or I even do click on it and go, I got to get back to this one.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden it's like 2 days later and you don't even remember it.
Right.
And so if you see that email again, you're like, oh yeah, I'm so glad Ellis just emailed me again, because I totally forgot about that.
Yeah. And you notice on that 7 one, I said, text me, because I'd already tried a couple things that didn't work. And so I just said, this time, like, here's my number. Like, how easy can you make it? Like, we try and make it so hard for investors to invest. I'm like, it's like, just make it simple. You want to be in this deal, text me. Like, no, that's not, you can automate that too. It actually doesn't have to be your personal cell. That's our office line, but it'll still get them into, we'll gather their information as soon as they call or text that number. And so giving multiple ways and figuring out how do you make this super easy for investors is also key.
That's key. We're all busy. We're all busy. And people that have enough money to invest in your deals, they're busy.
Yeah. I mean, you know why? So why I'm not scared to send 7 emails. Is Andy still on the call? Andy gives me crap for sending too much emails. Where's Andy at? Yeah, Andy's still here. Good. Is that I was a missionary, and I would ask folks to come on my support team, and it would take them forever. They would be like, yes, $1,200, by the way, right? So like, I'm working my tail off for $1,200 a year. If I ever go and become a missionary again, no one's coming on my team less than 10 grand, by the way. But it took me so much work, and I was like, golly, like, I thought they said, yes, they want to be a part of this. And it would take them like 90 days to sign up for $1,200 commitment. And then when I transitioned from being a missionary to full-time real estate entrepreneur, and folks then approached me to support them, I realized like I felt bad because I'm like, I realized all of a sudden when a guy asked me and it took me 2 months to actually respond to him, I'm like, oh, wow. It's not that people didn't care. It's just that people are busy. And if you don't stay on them and you don't remind them and you don't give them easy steps to get signed up, it's your fault.
Yep.
It's not their fault. They want to do it. They just need the easy steps in order to do it. And so that was a shift for me of like, no, it's actually my fault. It took 90 days for people to sign up because I didn't make it easy enough for them to get signed up right away. And they got too busy and they forgot. It's not their fault. It's my fault.
Your short, sweet emails are perfect too, because you open that email that's like a freaking novel, and you're just like,
yeah. Another thing, Todd. Again, this is I'm learning. This is all stuff. That's why you got to experiment. 7 emails helps me learn a lot of things too. Number 7, I put their first name in it, and 5 people replied to me because I put their first name in it. And the 5 were, hey, no, actually, I can't invest. But because it was personal, they actually felt obliged to say no.
Yep.
Where before, no one said anything. So things like that, I think, are those are
so
helpful things.
Let me ask you. So you sent 7 emails. I've never sent 7 emails, but I do send a couple. But when you have somebody say no, do you go through the process of taking them off of that email for the next one, or do they still get it? Because man, that seems like it'd be a lot.
No, I keep sending. Maybe they change their mind. I mean, I don't know. Or they tell their friend.
It'd be a challenge to get them off.
Yeah.
It would just take a lot of time.
Yeah. It would actually really wouldn't take that much time. You would just tag them differently. But
Sure.
No. I mean, it's not like I'm sending them one every day. And again, my thought is maybe they're not interested, but they know. So like one of my emails will say, hey, maybe you're not interested, but who do you know? Yeah. Right. And so, because wealthy people know wealthy people.
And especially when you're doing that 506C, you can do that.
Yep.
Yeah. So I get that all the time, by the way. That's a bad thing about not doing 506C is like this last offering. Now we filled out almost immediately, so it wasn't a big deal, but I got several investors that were like, hey, I got a friend that really wants to do this, really wants to invest. I forward this to them. They'd like to invest, in this deal. Well, I mean, legally, technically, I can't take them because I don't know them. Right. So luckily I just said, sorry, it's full, because like I said, we filled out almost immediately. But if you didn't and you needed that money, you'd be very tempted to take that money, even though you shouldn't be taking it because you did a 506B. But if you did a 506C, you could say, yeah, absolutely. Let's let them in.
Yep. So guys, we've learned so much. This call's been so good. I just, I love learning from guys like Todd, Abel. I love the 2 structure thing. I think we'll probably do that in the future where you're really incentivizing, folks who have larger capital. And like, you see, oh man, I can get this, or there's a higher tier or structure. I want to be in that, even if I can't afford it. I'm like, dang, I wish I could put $250K in the deal.
Yeah.
And so I do think that's a really interesting technique, and I look forward to trying to figure out how we put that in. Todd, I just love this, man. Where do guys go to learn what you're doing and follow your deals and get on your list? And again, 506B, here's the thing. You don't know what people are doing if you're not on their email list. You can't see people's deals if you're not signed up for them. That's why I tell people all the time, get signed up, because if you're not, you can't see it. So how do they get signed up?
Yeah. Go to my website, venturedproperties.com, venturedproperties.com. I got a free book in there for people, all kinds of goodies. So you can sign up for that. And definitely, if you want to be on the email list too, connect with me there.
Guys, if you want to see Todd, hang out with Todd. He's going to be in our in-person mastermind in August, preview night on the 1st, and then 2 insane days, 2nd and 3rd. Stuff we have planned is just ridiculous. It's ridiculous, Todd. What we do last time? Tell the people what we did on that. What I planned for the first day.
Well, I showed up a little late to that place in the lake, but you guys were having a lot of fun out on the boat. That looked pretty fun. What was it? Wake surfing
Yeah,
and
we did wake
all that kind of
surfing.
stuff. You had a whole what was that? You had a whole like inflatable
Yeah, we had a
slip and slide thing.
Yeah,
That was
27-foot
pretty
water
awesome.
slide we brought in.
Oh, that was
Yeah,
good.
for 40-year-old people, like it was a blast. I mean, it was
you had those fire dancers too. That was really cool. I mean, just a lot of fun and just hanging out. Really good, just good people to hang
yes,
out
live
with.
fire dancers. It was insane, and
lots of fun.
that was gonna be a lot of fun too. So I can't. If you're in the world of real estate and faith is important to you, you're missing out is like what I keep telling people. It's like you make the decision as fast as you can. And if you can't afford a $15,000 mastermind yet, and you are looking to get in this business, I was talking to a kid the other day who wanted to come into the group. He didn't quite have the money. He really wasn't quite established yet. I'm like, dude, spend the money as fast as you can. He's like, this is kind of like my last 10K. And I wasn't bringing him to my mastermind, but I was like, hey, dude, go spend the money as fast as you can. Because like you can't get to where you want holding on. Like you don't know, like this business is so easy to get into. And the fact that you don't know how to get into it yet is your problem. You need to go spend that 10K yesterday. And the guy I said to go spend it with was you, Todd. I'm like, you need to go join Todd's coaching program because Todd will help you get in this industry. And then when you have 2 or 3 deals under your belt, then you'll have 15K to come be a part of our mastermind community. And so, it's just a mindset shift, man.
Here's the thing too. I hear people like, oh, don't take coaching. Don't join one of those groups. If you got the extra money, put it into a deal. And my response to that is like, you're not going to do a multi-million-dollar deal if you need 15K. First of all, you don't need 15K to do a multi-million-dollar deal. You don't even need it. But like, if that's what you're worried about, like putting it into your next deal, you're thinking the wrong way. You're thinking way too small. Your paradigm needs to be shifted. It's you can't put a price tag on what you get from it. Like I said, the partnership opportunities, just the overall opportunities that you get. I think on something like what you've got set up it's so worth it.
Well, I'm pulling you're a part of it, guys. Hey, there's so many things to get involved in, though. We're doing a free training tomorrow night, 7 ways to profit from real estate syndication. If you just want to learn this business, I give out more free training and webinars to people that I've never talked with in my life, just because like this industry has changed my life. And I know if you have the knowledge and the education, you can do it too. Like you really are one connection away. And, the Bible talks a lot about money. And in most of my life, I was scared of it because of what I saw money do. Honestly, I was scared of it. It's why one of the reasons why I became a missionary, because I didn't want to go learn how to make money. What I was missing, money was my master. Like it mastered me in the sense that it kept me oppressed. When I became a master over money is when I got educated. When I learned how to control it, how to make it, how to multiply it, how to invest it. That's the difference that I see people. The reason we're so scared of it is because we don't understand it. We don't know how to create it. The people who are holding on to it, that 10K, they're so scared to invest in themselves is because they don't know yet how to create it. Mm-hmm. When I look at an investment, a mastermind, and I have a mastermind, I'm in multiple. I ask myself the question, if I spend this 10, 50, 30K, can I go make that back in 12 months?
Yep.
And if the answer is yes, then I spend the money. It's not even a question. Yep. What credit card do I have I can go put this on? And it's because like, it's just a matter of time now that I know how to go create money. So if you want to learn how to create this, I'm doing a training tomorrow night, 7 ways to profit from a real estate syndication. That I got so many links in this stinking thing today, but there's just so much going on that I want to make sure people do not miss. Here is the link one more time. That's tomorrow night. And then our mastermind is thekingdomrei.com. If you want to come to the preview night, it's /preview. Okay. And so make sure you don't miss any of those things. Share that with your friend. This webinar, if you love this and you want other people to be a part of this, thekingdomrei.com/live. So I mean, what else do we want to talk about? Who else wants to come up here? I got 15 minutes today. Who has been so freaking challenged by today? Like, I want to bring you up and talk to you. I want to know someone who's like, this webinar today has done something to me or helped my business. Or if you're like, this was the most boring webinar and I got nothing out of it, I also would like to talk to you as well. Because if we didn't provide some value today, then I want to know do you have a pulse? So if you're either one of the two extremes, raise your hand or type in the chat. Who wants to come up here and talk to Todd and myself? Is there anyone?
Ellis, while people are waiting, one thing. So when you're raising funds, one of the most important things I think is that communication with your investors that actually commit. So one of the things we do is we provide a weekly email update to our investors. The other thing we do is we make sure when we get a commitment, I do not allow soft commitments. That's not in my vocabulary. A lot of people want to say, give us a soft commitment. I think that's inviting people to be non-decisive, which I like people that decide. I want you to decide and I want you to commit. So we don't ask for soft commitments. We ask for commitments.
Interesting. I'm a soft committer. So explain this to me. So this is interesting.
So when we get our raise, so we just did a raise, $4.5 million. We raised it in 3 days. We have 100% of those people have funded the deal.
Wow.
100%. We get that every time. Okay.
So what's your process? How do they actually how do you know how do they commit?
Well, first of all, we tell them when we're doing our webinar, everything we're saying is we are posing it as that commitment. We want you to commit to this deal. If you're not sure about it, please don't commit. We tell them that. I don't want you to just to be wishy-washy about it. So then when they decide to commit, they just click on the button, they go into our portal, they make that commitment, they sign the subscription agreement right then and there, and then they have the funding instructions. Now, sometimes the funding instructions aren't ready, so that might be not part of the process. That comes later, but they get the email that says exactly what's that. They get an email right from us right away, thanking them for committing, blah, blah, blah. And then they get those updates consistently, very consistently from us. So let's say we held the webinar on a Friday or Thursday. Usually it's like a Thursday. So let's say we do it on a Thursday. Our first email is going to go out after the welcome email. Our first email is going to go out on Monday, and they're going to get an email update, and they're going to get an email update every single week then that tells them what's happening, where we are with the closing, anything up until the day of closing. They get communicated with us every single week. Or more if there's more to talk about. But
so real quick to go back to that, you get them like they can't commit till they come to the webinar. Is that correct?
No, they can commit before that, so they can look at just our little highlight. But then they go to the portal. They have to click on their commitment. They have to put that in there, and then they're signing the subscription agreement immediately. I think a big thing is it's just our language. Wow. We're never asking for a soft commitment, and we're making it fairly obvious we're not asking for a soft commitment. Like, we're expecting them to commit.
It's really interesting. That's actually very helpful. Yeah, that's good. It's good.
If I raise $4.5 million, I want $4.5 million. I don't want 3.5.
Yeah, no. You know what you're saying though, man, is so helpful. Like, it's changing. It's so here of like, who has the value? Like, both, it's a partnership. So they have the capital, we have the deal. But what I'm saying is like, it's the missionary mindset of like, I don't really have, like, I don't stand in a position of value. I was scared to ask for $1,200 because I wasn't convinced that I was a person of value to bring in more than $1,200. What you're saying is like, listen, guys, we have something great here. If you want to be part of it, here's the steps. Don't, and then you got to go fast. So I just think that's a really good, it's really helpful. And I think there's something about the soft commit that is still a mindset thing for me. So I need to think about that. Ken and Rach,
that
are you
soft
here?
commits like we're not quite sure. Like, yeah, it's a good deal, we think, but we don't. We just don't. You don't need to
Right.
commit, just in case
Right.
you don't think it's a good deal.
Guys, so what's up, guys? How's this been for y'all? Welcome. Ken and Rachel, part of the mastermind. Good to see you.
Hey, great, Todd and Alice. Thank you so much. We appreciate everything that you've done. The education is great. I'm going to echo what Todd and Abel said about the mastermind. It's been well worth it. And the comparison that Todd you made about taking $15,000 and putting it into a $10 million deal just makes total sense. It's been a great community to be a part of. And we enjoyed your presentation today. I would like to know about the SCORE thing, since Todd, we're in Minnesota, so we're going to look into that.
That was awesome. Thank you.
We do have a deal on the table, so we're in the fundraising process of this. Comes at no better time, and I'm a firm believer that God puts these things in front of you at the exact time that you need them to be in front of you. So we do appreciate the tips. I like email tips. I like keeping it short and simple. Get that first name in that email. Make it personal to the people that you're sending it to. I like the link to the quick 2-page summary with the bullet points. It all makes sense.
You guys are going to go take action immediately, which is why I love you guys. So, Todd, where can they go learn about this SCORE thing? Where can they learn about this SCORE thing?
Yeah.
I don't know. My attorney sent it to me, so I use Zach Robbins with Meserly and Kramer. So you can look up Zach Robbins, Robins, and you have my contact. Anybody want that if you're from Minnesota? And I think actually SCORE is all over the nation. I think it's most states have it, but it's state by state, right? So when you do a SCORE offering, it's based on your state. So you can look it up, SCOR. But I would say Tiger's attorney. What do you think? Do you think it's worth it? So in Minnesota, you could raise $5 million. So, yeah.
Does Todd, you know if the property has to be in the state or if your company has to?
No, the property I purchased was in Kentucky.
Okay.
Yeah.
And something else I just wanted to add to the people that aren't a part of Kingdom REI, we're doing a deal with one of the other members right now too. So it's fantastic for teaming up and just.
There are deals everywhere. I can't even literally. I don't even know. Like, I'm sitting next to a guy that we're doing a deal with in our mastermind. Over, we're talking through the deal to make sure we're gonna line this up. And he's like, he got this call, and I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, that was another guy in our mastermind. We're closing on this deal right now in the lender. I was like, what is happening? So I love hearing that, Rachel. Awesome. Hey, Chris asked a great question. How are you guys setting all this up? Legal aspect is the toughest for me. Chris, because you're not an attorney. Of course it's hard for you. What are you doing worrying about the legal stuff, my man?
Yeah, get an attorney.
Get
You got to get a securities attorney. You got to get the right, just not any attorney. You got to get a securities attorney. There's quite a few of them around. There's a lot of them around. Yeah. You don't want to worry about the legal stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
But you don't want to go fishing out blind either. Like, you be careful before you start raising money. Be careful. Make sure you talk with the attorney. Like, hey, what can I do? What can't I do? We run our website by our attorney to make sure we're not putting stuff on there that shouldn't be on there.
Yeah.
You want to run your your slide deck by your attorney to make sure that it doesn't say anything that shouldn't be on there. So,
right. Yeah. Chris, email us, Pete. If you're still on here, make sure Chris gets our attorney recommendations if he emails us. So thank you. Janice just put in something about SCORE in the chat, Ken and Rach. So make sure you see that from Investopedia. I think that's credible. Who knows? It's the internet these days.
Is that Wikipedia for investors?
Yeah. All right, guys, this is so good. We got to get back to work. Everyone's got to get back to work here. We can do this all the time. But thanks for being here. We're doing this every single week. Next week, just so everyone knows, we got another webinar coming because we never stop. And we are talking about, what are we talking about? Pete,
hey, Alice, I gotta run.
Oh, Ty, get out of here, brother. Thanks for being here. Pete can tell us what we're talking about next week. We do this every single week, though. Fund to funds. Ooh, building and creating a fund to funds. Going to be a great webinar. Excited for that one. And so make sure you join us next week. Again, training tomorrow night. If you want to learn more about our mastermind, thekingdomrei.com. Love doing this. Hey, we got a cool YouTube channel out. We're putting all of these recordings. We break them up, short segments, and we put them on our YouTube channel at Kingdom REI. So if you're wanting more of this, or you want to go back and watch some of this stuff, if you missed any of this, and you can see how much value we bring every week, go to our YouTube channel, Kingdom REI, and we're putting up the recordings for those as well, breaking them up so you can just get straight to the content, really getting rid of the fluff. Whenever I go on tangents, I try and tell people to cut that stuff out, because I know live I just get going. So, you just want the good stuff, and you don't want to listen to all of this crazy rant that I do every now and then. Go to our YouTube channel and you can watch this. Reach out to us, info@thekingdomrei.com if you have questions. If you want to be a guest on this webinar show and you feel like you got something of value to provide, you can email us at info@thekingdomrei.com as well. So see you next week. Go be great. You're one connection away. I truly believe that. And we'll see you all soon. Ciao, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you. God bless you guys.